Here's your host, Alex Garrett.
Well, here on Alex Garrett Podcasting, I'm very excited to have my next guest. I actually found his story on LinkedIn where a lot of inspiration is coming from, as I don't even know where we're on this pandemic, but people are going through it and making life work through the pandemic and adapting to it and adding some restaurants in the meanwhile. And Chef JJ Johnson is no exception. Chef, first of all, thanks for joining me on Alex Garrett Podcasting.
Oh, thanks for having me, Alex. It's a pleasure. I'm excited. Trying to keep some hope alive.
And you've done that, and I know you've gotten people to invest, but first talk about FieldTrip and where this idea came from and how you've been able to expand through the other boroughs of New York.
Well, FieldTrip for me kind of just like started in my brain, traveling the world, eating rice, seeing rice as the center of the table, people getting excited about rice and wondering like why here in the United States there's no excitement, but there's in some areas there are excitement, but in projected, rice for me was like one of them, as I look at it, like one of the most disrespected ingredients on the food chain. And I said to myself, hey, I think a rice shop would be great. Let's try to disrupt the market space in Harlem with giving people like good for you food, or giving them the option for good for you food. And what ingredient can we do that around? Rice, but it being freshly milled directly from a farm. And that's how I really kind of got started. Originally, Alex, I wanted it to be a full service restaurant. And then I was like, will people pay $26 for a bowl of rice? Probably not. And then kind of pulled back the layers and just made it where it's a rice shop. You order from the counter, you get your food, you sit down. And in the beginning it was tough, and then it started to grow, and then the pandemic came. It's always a roller coaster.
Well, rice, I do love rice. In fact, it's one of my favorite ingredients, to be honest. So tell us why you feel it's so disrespected, because I feel like people do love rice, do they not?
I think it's based on a culture, on your culture, if you respect rice. But I think the real American, the real rooted American that eats rice is like, you got brown rice, that's good rice, right? When it's like it's so much more than that. At one point, rice was a cash crop, right? Part of the gold era. People made a lot of money off of it, and that rice that was produced came off of slave trade, right? Carolina gold rice, which was the foundation of America. And then Black people didn't want to farm anymore, and the rice industry collapsed. And then you got parboiled rice, which started because people had to figure out how to preserve rice.
Well,
and
sorry, I didn't catch
the
last part. I was saying, what's your favorite rice? Like, what's your favorite rice, and then what's your favorite rice to make?
Oh man, I mean, my whole perspective on rice right now is that I love to buy freshly milled rice directly from the farm. If I'm getting it from the farmer's market, and a farmer I didn't know that had freshly milled rice or selling grains, or if I'm purchasing it directly online from Anson Mills or Harvest Mills or Blue Moon or a rice farm in upstate New York. That's what I love. My refrigerator and freezer has tons of freshly milled rice. And then from there, I love black rice. I love cooking black rice. I love cooking it in orange juice. I think it absorbs the most beautiful flavor. It's nutty. It's good for you. It has tons of vitamins. So I'm a black rice guy. But I try to give respect to all rice out there.
So, and by the way, yellow rice is my favorite. Just throwing that out there. I love the yellow rice, and I gotta try Chef JJ's yellow rice now. Now I've got a challenge ahead of me for 2022. But I don't know if you delve into it with your restaurants or when you pitch it, but rice is a very healthy component in the sense of it could bind you if you have stomach issues. I mean, for me, that's also why I use it, to be honest. But it helps. It is a healthy ingredient, is it not?
Oh, rice is super healthy for you, especially at FieldTrip. Our rice is freshly milled, coming directly from the farm. There's nothing getting pulled back. There's no parboiledness in it. There's nothing that is bleached or enriched. So at FieldTrip, the rice is super good for you and giving you all the vitamins that you need.
I don't know. I've been hearing horror stories about farming and how the crops are this, that, and the other. Are you guys experiencing that kind of short of supply chain damage right now, or what do you guys experience?
Well, at FieldTrip, we order rice directly from the farm, so all of our rice is coming directly in. We're developing a grow program as we expand. So we're not purchasing commodity rice. So right now we're all good, knock on wood, when it comes to rice. When it comes to other product, we're seeing the market fluctuate a lot, which is becoming really difficult, I think, for all restaurants.
Now, I believe I found you because Crain's highlighted you in their magazine about how you've been able to be this entrepreneur that's expanded. So talk about the expansion, because and is there an adaptation to every borough, knowing that every borough has different cultures when it comes to the rice itself?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I can open a FieldTrip in every borough and change the whole menu that adapts to that borough or place, right? Which can make it really fun. Everybody's just on a FieldTrip everywhere. You got to go to Harlem to get one thing, Rock Center to get something else, But I think the great part about it is we're trying to, the goal for FieldTrip over this expansion, what we mentioned in Crain, is empowering communities and neighborhoods that potentially might not get a chance to get food consciously better for them. So that's the focus of the growth of FieldTrip inside of New York and also outside of New York. Where we go outside of New York, we're not sure yet, but we are looking. Inside of New York, we hope to be at Columbia University next. Our fingers crossed, and then go from there. And the goal is also uptown, right? As we're looking at the growth, we are looking at uptown, those markets of uptown, right? Our friends in the world are not uptown. They are not opening fast casual restaurants uptown. So we hope to be able to grow through the uptown market. And also when we go outside of New York, markets that look very similar to uptown.
JJ, you were very thankful in your article to those that invested in this expansion. Did you not see this taking off when you tried to disrupt in Harlem? Was that a surprise, this whole takeoff?
Yeah, I think super surprised. I take it day by day as an owner of a business, as an entrepreneur. Things change. A pandemic hit us really hard. Restaurants were closing every day. And the first round of funders, friends and family, were our great partners, and the new partners that have come in now really, I think, can help accelerate from expertise, from network, to accelerate the brand to get to spaces that potentially I can't get to. And the hope is that we constantly will keep expanding over time and do well in this crazy market, and keep putting out delicious food.
And now you said people could sit down, so the vaccine mandates for proof of vaccination has not changed that, right?
No, the proof of listen, we follow the rules in whatever market we're in, right? The governor and the mayor's rules. We've done that from day one. We've never shut down FieldTrip. We've been able to maneuver and through the times, and we just follow what the rules are. We don't create them. I think people, New York is just trying to keep people safe.
Well, how can a restaurant owner that's right now very frustrated learn from this restaurant owner from FieldTrip, owner of FieldTrip, JJ Johnson, Chef JJ Johnson? How can they learn from you? Because I feel like restaurateurs can be inspired that you've survived this pandemic while they maybe have been struggling.
I think everybody, I'm still trying to figure out how to maneuver. I think the best advice I can say to restaurant owners is just tap into your local community. Like, just look at that block radius, that 4x4 block radius, 2 blocks to your right, 2 avenues to your right, 2 avenues, and then 4 blocks up, 4 blocks down. That's your customer. How can you drive in on them and get them to come into your location? That's what we're trying to always do on a daily basis. And just building trust that you're there for your community. It's a hard time. It's a hard time for us all.
All right, you mentioned health, and I wondered if you wanted to take this into the schools also. Like, are you looking to partner with education to make sure the kids have a healthier menu as well?
Yeah, that would be awesome if we could partner with schools to put FieldTrip menus on, to have a FieldTrip section in schools. I think that's something that we'll look to down the road potentially. I think right now the goal for me is to go into communities that in cities and in rural America that don't get the option to eat better. I grew up in Northeast Pennsylvania. It's McDonald's, Burger King, Pizza Hut, Domino's, right? Taco Bell's. That were your options as a kid, and me as a kid. Those are the same options that are in Harlem or in the Bronx or in Detroit or in Oakland. I hope Field Trip could come in and be able to really give people an opportunity to eat better. And if you're able to eat better, then you're able to live a little bit longer.
Absolutely. Nutrition is so important. So you're on the map now and you want to go into communities. Being on the map, does that sort of feel role modelish now for you, and that now you have an even bigger cause to be there for the community?
You know, you can't, I think if you're a community guy or you're trying to mentor, you always have it in your heart.
Mhm.
You know, this is something I've always wanted to do, something I grew up with. Listen, my parents ran a nonprofit basketball program my whole life. I grew up in it. So being ingrained in communities, I for me are the key. I look at myself as a community guy. And also, you know, hopefully the growth of Field Trip really paves the way for the future, that young Black kids can see that they can raise money and open up whatever they envision to open up.
So it's clear this is way beyond just a restaurant. It is the vibe I'm getting right now.
Yeah, I mean, I believe restaurants are the glue to communities, right? They're the ones that keep communities safe. They're the ones that give you your first job. So I look at it that way, as it's a community builder, because my first job was in a restaurant as a dishwasher. I know a lot of people that aren't in the restaurant industry are. Um, and I think as we look at society now, crime rates going up, restaurants are closed. Restaurants
Mm.
are a function of a lot of things that go on in everybody's community. And hopefully Field Trip could be that little light that just shines and give people hope in whatever community we go in.
I love talking with you, but I got to ask you on the day to day, because obviously you're managing all these different entities. How do you keep this level head like you have right now in this interview? How do you keep that when you're dealing with day to days, and keep your employees inspired to keep going and Field Trip's mission?
You know, right now I'm hiring infrastructure, right? Marketing, our director of ops, you know, really putting people that are smarter around me to try to really build out the brand. And my goal has always been, regardless if you're the porter, the busser, whoever you are, is to try to hire the best person. But listen, you run a high level company, or you try to run a high level company, there's always stress, right? Like, let's not get twisted. Like, people around you might cause stress to people around you. There's an
Mm.
intensity level to push to keep the train running. But I believe Field Trip is an awesome place to work. We treat people really well, especially right now in the industry that people don't want to work in anymore. Our retention rate is still pretty good comparison to what the industry standards are. And I think it's just because we care about people. We check in on them. We ask questions. We try to give them a work-life balance. We're just trying to be what we consider the future of food is.
Chef JJ Johnson, talk to me for a minute. What inspired you to become an entrepreneur? Let's start there.
I think I've always been an entrepreneur.
Okay. But there's a lot of risk, would you say, to start your business? I mean, that's a risk right there. So what inspired you to start it and say, let's get this off the ground running?
I think when I was cooking at the Cecil, I put all my blood and my sweat and tears into an establishment that had nothing, that I got it collected a check. And I said, well, if I can work this hard for somebody else,
Mhm.
could I work this hard for myself? And I think a lot of people, I try to tell a lot of young kids, you can't just automatically turn on a switch and work for yourself that hard because it's for yourself now. You just have that in you. It doesn't matter if you're working for somebody else or if you are working for yourself. You're putting in the same uh, blood, sweat, and
Mhm.
tears if you care, and then you hope the people you hire around you are working at that same pace as well. Um, and I started companies in college that I failed. I've always just had an entrepreneur spirit. I've always just had the energy of risk, like big picture
Okay.
risk. And I think you just have to be comfortable with not collecting a check every week. If you're not comfortable not collecting a check every week, then you can figure it out and try to push through.
So you were at the Cecil and then you left it and started Field Trip. Is that how that worked? Or was there a process from leaving your day to day and making Field Trip happen?
Yeah, I left the Cecil and went out on my own. We did a couple of pop-ups that were around Field Trip. Did a residency and chef program at Chef's Club, which was a huge hit. Raised some
Cool.
money off of, was able to start to raise money off of that. the landlord of the Harlem location Field Trip, the moment I left the Cecil and it was announced, they called me and said, "We want you to put your restaurant here." At first I didn't want to do that, and then said, "Why not?" So having the community of Harlem behind me has always been a key to success. So yeah, there's always a process or progress, right? Depending on how you look at it.
Sure. All right. Favorite bowl to make, because rice, I know you like the black rice, but I feel like rice bowls are just, they're a very popular thing among the millennials nowadays, are they not? I happen to like rice bowls too. So tell us.
Where do you get your rice bowls from?
Well, I don't know. Honestly, I tried poke bowl, poke bowl or something like that, but I'm definitely going to try Field Trip now, because you've got in every borough. So I got to check it out now. Now you're putting the pressure on me. So I got to.
Yeah, I gotta, where do you live? I gotta come up with the yellow Spanish rice. You made me think of something. You inspired me that maybe I'm missing out on something I gotta put some yellow rice on the menu.
Oh, and a little seasoning on that. Oh man, this is, you can't go wrong there.
Yeah, I
But
think the
no,
greatest thing about Field Trip is that you're going around the world, right? You're really on a field trip. So you can eat in American South, you can eat in India, you can eat in West Africa, you can eat in Southeast Asia, our variations of the bowl. I would say my two favorite items that are not bowls are the quinoa patties, the
okay.
veggie bao buns, and then the crab pockets are a must. If you're just eating by yourself, get a 5-piece. If you're eating with somebody else, don't get a 5-piece, get a 10-piece, because you're going to fight over that last piece. And I think that's one of the greatest things. In Harlem, we have rice milk ice cream called Rice Cream, which is only at that location, and the flavor changes from time to time. We have a new winter flavor coming out really soon. So, but today I had the veggie bowl and I added some fried fish on top with the coconut yogurt, which was delicious.
I was going to say, does the menu change week to week, day to day? What's your policy on that as the chef?
Right now, the menu stays the same. I envision the menu to be just like, when you look at McDonald's or Popeyes, this thing was built to give you maximum deliciousness, and that's what we do here at Field Trip. We don't let people build your own, but we will be bringing some things soon, as in potentially adding some things onto your bowl. So I think there's some excitement coming to unlock some new things for the millennials out there that are looking that are eating at bowl spots, and then we'll go from there.
Well, I got to ask you, because this is sort of a newsy podcast as well, and obviously we've had this devastating fire in the Bronx, and you mentioned Harlem. Are you guys doing anything to donate to those that were affected by this fire? Is there anything in place with that?
So at the moment, we're not doing anything in the Bronx. We've been on the phone all day figuring out who we partner with, what we can do to help. We've talked about doing some coat drives. People reach out, we're doing coat drives. If we're going to donate some food, if we're just going to give families options to come into Field Trip here in Harlem to eat. I've been on the phone all day, Ghetto Gastro and Rethink Foods and Sobra and a couple other organizations to figure out how we play our part as we look to the Bronx as a neighbor to us and in a community that we support or have been supporting in the heart of the pandemic. So devastating news, and especially in a really hard time for us all. But we're trying to figure out our part and what to do and do the right thing, not just give food when we know there's a lot of other people giving food. But I think we're going to start off with a coat drive and then go from there.
See, that's what I love. I love that you're expanding beyond just food, because you get it. You get that that's the starting point, but then you can expand on that.
Right, correct.
So when let's say when people leave your restaurant, you must see them leave with smiles on their faces, right? I mean, I can't imagine that not being the case. So what's that like when you see them so filled up with your rice that you created, and they just have a seat at the table? What's that feel for you?
Oh, it's the greatest feeling when somebody walks through the door and sits down and eats something that I've created and has a smile on their face. I think that's the biggest thing. The business that I'm in is like trying to bring somebody from a 5 to a 10 or a 10 to a 20. And if I can do that with the hot bowl of delicious rice, it's a win. It's a win for me.
Does it change seasonally? So right now we're in the middle of winter, and I feel like rice in the winter is a little more popular because it is hot. It's a hot plate. So how do you keep it relevant during the summer when, I mean, yeah, we all love rice, but it sometimes isn't the main dish for a summer meal.
Well, in our rice bowls, we have wok vegetables, and our wok vegetables change seasonally. Um, and our base is always collard greens. So right now it's Brussels sprouts, butternut squash, collard greens. I think we're gonna go for the winter. We're gonna go a little cauliflower, red cabbage, collard greens. So we will change our wok vegetables based off the season, and just what's around. But we give a complete meal, very different than other
Mm.
fast casuals out in the market space. So when you're eating with us at lunch or dinner, you're able to get your protein, your starch, and your veggie. And I think that's what makes us really key as a seasonal restaurant brand.
That's very cool. By the way, I'm just looking up now. You are also a host on BuzzFeed. You're a chef on BuzzFeed's tasty platform, and you're a host on Just Eats with Chef JJ on TV1's new network, Cleo TV. Tell us about your television, because obviously you love doing Zoom interviews. I can see that you got that energy for television. Talk to me about that.
Well, Just Eat season 4 comes out on Wednesday this week. So first episode's coming out. It's a cooking show where a guest comes into the kitchen with me. It's kitchen table talk. We talk about everything and anything. They cook with me. It's super fun. Shot right here in Harlem, which is really good and delicious. And I'm thankful to be on TV for my 4th season. This season will be 20 episodes, so it will be a big season ahead. And now, am I being biased now, Alex? But I do think it's some of the best food television across all of TV.
Okay, and I'm not knocking those on those places like Top Chef and those competition, but you really you kind of went behind the scenes to build this brand. You didn't really go on Top Chef. You went in behind the scenes to do it, and then you went on television. So when you watch them try on TV to make it, do you feel for them? Are you like, man, you could have done this differently? Like, what's your thought?
I think everybody has their own path. I just been very fortunate for the food to take me on my path. And that's what it has taken me. A lot of people are in parts of the country that don't have exposure, and television allows them to be exposed. Top Chef, Chop, to showcase their restaurant or their talent, which is fortunate to them. So, but for myself, I took I think like a very traditional path, similar to like Bobby Flay or Wolfgang Puck, Errol Lagasse, right? We're able to cook in a restaurant and then get placed to go on television. So, which is really great.
Have you gotten a chance to partner with any of those guys, like the ones you just mentioned?
I've been a guest judge on Beat Bobby Flay a couple times. I ran into Emerald once, which was like a really big deal for me because I love Emerald Lagasse.
Sure.
When I cooked at the Cecil, I Wolfgang Puck came by and ate there, so which was spectacular, and go from there.
Cool. All right. Bobby Flay, by the way, has a very interesting story. Aside from being a chef, he actually does horse racing and whatnot because he actually won the Belmont Stakes a few years ago. So I remember that. I was in the press room and I'm like, man, this guy is diverse. Then, as a chef, do you feel that kind of diversity is needed in your field, like to be that versatile, to go from one entity, being a chef, to something else, like another hobby that you, or a different kind of thing that you want to pick up as well?
I think that's what's great about chefs, right? Chefs are able to do a bunch of different things, play in a bunch of different arenas as they touch so many different people, which is really great. So, Bobby always would go up there. He got into horse racing. Some people in the boats. I think that's what makes chefs really great. So, you really can play in many different arenas, especially in today's world.
All right. So Crain's is interesting because it's a political paper as well. So being a 40 under 40, which I believe you are, or you were featured because you're 37 and you're definitely a 40 under 40. So talk to me about if politics, if there is sort of a mix to make sure that, as you say, you're following the rules, but more so, do you try and get not involved politically, but sort of as an ally with your local council members or local assemblymen? Like, is there sort of an alliance there?
Yeah, everybody on the field trip team is active on community boards with city councilmen, especially in all the communities that we're in. There's no way not to be, and I think that's just a part of it all, right? Like, you can't complain about something if you're not active, and we're as active as we can be.
Are you on the Harlem BID? Are you part of a business improvement district as well? Because I know the bids play such a big role in the small business world.
I work with the empowerment team sometimes and things of that nature. I'm not on it. I'm not on it like that.
Okay, I like to ask my entrepreneurial guests, that I feel Small Business Saturday is like the only shout out society gives to small business. That's kind of changed during the pandemic. But I mean, you guys are more than just Small Business Saturday. So how can people truly get involved to support your journey?
I think anybody can get involved to support the journey. I think that's the key, is like, come through and support more of your own local restaurants today.
Sure.
I think that's what we saw during the pandemic, that people weren't supporting their own local restaurant, and then they saw them leave. They saw them disappear. They saw things not happen. So and then look back at what happened to that restaurant. So I think that's the ultimate key, is like, go out and not just support a person like me, but go and look in your community to local restaurants to really support.
All right, JJ, Chef JJ Johnson, you got to find his website, by the way. You got to log on to chefjj.co, and he's very responsive. I mean, when I emailed him to get him on my show, he's like, I'll loop the team, and I'm like, I love this guy. He gets it. He's very responsive. So can people reach out to you personally on that note?
Anybody can reach out to me on any social media platform, Chef JJ. You can hit me in my DM, and I'll definitely get back to you. You go to my website, chefjj.co. And if you're looking for something in particular, I can send you to the right person on the team to get you the right answers.
All right, one last thing to inspire other entrepreneurs to get their life going and their journeys up and running. I'm sure, sadly, you've been told, no, this may not work, or no, this may not work. So when someone who wants to start their own business or has this dream gets told certain things, how do you say, what's your words on staying resilient in following through on those journeys, no matter what's around you?
I think when you love something that you do, all you can do is really push, and you want to stay alive in the things that you love. So that's the key to it all. Try to work in something that you love to do, and the resilience is just the fight.
Well, I feel like you are fighting for Harlem. I feel like you are fighting for communities through FieldTrip, and we're going to take a field trip literally to one of your restaurants and try it out, and maybe do a podcast from there too. That'd be kind of fun.
Yeah, that'd be great. Come through, set up. We can definitely do a podcast in any space, anytime. You know who to talk to on the team, and they'll work it out.
Chef, God bless you, and thanks for bettering New York City. That's the main thing you're doing right now. So thank you for that too.
Perfect. Anytime, I'm here. Thanks, Alex, for having me. And I hope New York comes back strong.
I'm Alex Garrett, where we're always adapting. Perfect,
Talk
guys.
soon.
Thank you.